The unexpected encounter. The harsh winds of Titan howled across the desolate landscape, battering the walls of Outpost Omega. Inside, Commander Sarah Chen stared out the reinforced window, her dark eyes scanning the orange haze for any sign of movement. 5 years she'd been stuck on this frozen rock, punishment for a mission gone wrong and lives lost under her command. Some days, she wondered if death would have been kinder. A sudden alarm jolted her from her brooding. Red lights flashed throughout the command center as technicians scrambled to their stations. "Report," Sarah barked, slipping back into the role of authority she'd once worn so comfortably. "Unidentified object entering Titan's atmosphere, Commander," a young ensign called out, his voice trembling with a mix of excitement and fear. "It's not following any known flight path, and it's not responding to hails." Sarah's mind raced. In the 5 years since humanity had established this outpost on Saturn's largest moon, they'd never had an unscheduled arrival. "Show me," she ordered, striding to the main view screen. The image flickered to life, revealing a sleek, silver craft unlike anything Sarah had ever seen. It moved with an otherworldly grace, defying the brutal winds of Titan as if they were nothing more than a gentle breeze. As it drew closer, Sarah could make out strange, flowing patterns etched into its hull, definitely not human in origin. "My God," she whispered, her heart pounding. "It's them. It's really them." After centuries of searching the stars, wondering if we were alone, first contact was about to happen on her watch, on this godforsaken moon. "All personnel, battle stations," Sarah commanded, her training kicking in despite the surreal nature of the situation. "But do not, I repeat, do not take any aggressive action unless explicitly ordered." She paused, taking a deep breath. "Let's not start an interstellar war on humanity's first day on the galactic stage." As the alien craft descended towards the outpost's landing pad, Sarah made her way to the airlock, a squad of nervous security officers in tow. She checked the seal on her environmental suit one last time. Titan's atmosphere was no place for exposed human flesh. "Remember," she addressed her team, "we're making history here. Whatever comes through that door, we treat with respect and caution." "Understood." A chorus of shaky yes, commander responses followed as the outer airlock door slid open. The alien ship had landed with impossible precision, its silver surface unmarred by the journey through Titan's atmosphere. For a long moment, nothing happened. The only sound was the muffled howling of the wind and the rapid breathing of the humans in their suits. Then, with a soft hiss, a seam appeared in the craft's smooth hull. It widened, unfurling like the petals of some exotic flower, revealing a figure silhouetted against a warm, golden light from within. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as the alien stepped into view. Sarah realized with a start, was breathtakingly beautiful. Tall and graceful, with skin the color of pale lilacs and hair that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. Her eyes, large and almond-shaped, were a swirling silver that reminded Sarah of Mercury. But it was the alien's expression that truly caught Sarah off guard. There was fear there and desperation. This was no triumphant emissary coming to welcome humanity to the galactic community. This was a refugee, someone in dire need of help. The alien took a hesitant step forward, then another. She raised her hands, palms out, in what Sarah hoped was a universal gesture of peace. Then, to everyone's shock, she spoke. "Please," the alien said, her voice melodic yet filled with urgency. The word was accented but unmistakably English. "I seek sanctuary." For a moment, Sarah could only stare in disbelief. 1,000 questions raced through her mind, but years of military training took over. She stepped forward, mirroring the alien's open-palmed gesture. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of Earth," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "You are safe here. We will not harm you." She paused, then added, "Can you understand me?" The alien's silver eyes seemed to brighten. "Yes," she replied. "I am Lyria of the Astari. I have studied your transmissions. I had hoped. She swayed suddenly, her knees buckling. Sarah moved without thinking, rushing forward to catch the alien before she could fall. As her arms wrapped around Lyria, she was struck by how warm she felt, even through the environment suit. "Medical team," Sarah shouted. "We need a medical team here now." As they lowered Lyria gently to the ground, Sarah caught sight of something that made her blood run cold. There, on the alien's side, was a wound, an angry, pulsing gash that oozed a silvery liquid she assumed was blood. "What happened to you?" Sarah asked, her voice soft with concern. "Who did this?" Lyria's eyes locked onto Sarah's, and in that moment, the commander felt a connection that transcended species. "They hunt me," the alien whispered. "The Void Consortium. They will not stop. I am sorry. I have brought danger to your world." Before Sarah could respond, Lyria's eyes fluttered closed, and she went limp in the commander's arms. The medical team arrived, their shocked expressions visible even through their protected visors as they took in the unconscious alien. As they worked to stabilize Lyria, Sarah's mind whirled. First contact, a wounded refugee, and now the threat of some unknown alien force that might be coming for them all. She had thought her days of making life-or-death decisions were behind her, buried in the ice of Titan along with her career. But now the fate of not just her outpost, but possibly her entire species, might rest on what she did next. "Get her to the med bay," Sarah ordered, her voice tight with determination. "And someone get me a secure line to Earth Command. I have a feeling we're going to need reinforcements." As she watched her team carefully move Lyria's unconscious form, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, but now that it was here, she realized they might not be ready for what came next. One thing was certain, her exile on Titan was over. For better or worse, Sarah Chen was about to be thrust back into the heart of humanity's greatest adventure, and this time the stakes were higher than she could have ever imagined. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. As the medical team worked to stabilize Lyria, Sarah found herself in a heated debate with Earth Command. The bureaucrats and politicians back home were torn between excitement at the prospect of first contact and fear of the unknown threat Lyria had mentioned. "We need to send her back," General Hawthorne's gruff voice crackled over the comm. "We can't risk provoking an interstellar incident over one alien refugee." Sarah felt her temper flare. "With all due respect, sir, that alien refugee risked everything to come to us for help. If we turn her away, what does that say about humanity? Besides, she might be our only source of information about this Void Consortium, knowledge we might need if they come looking for her." There was a long pause, filled only by the static of the long-distance transmission. Finally, Hawthorne spoke again. "You have 48 hours, Commander. Get what information you can from the alien. After that, we'll reassess the situation. And Chen," his voice softened slightly, "watch yourself. Remember what happened last time you let your emotions cloud your judgment." The connection cut off before Sarah could respond, leaving her alone with her thoughts and the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. She made her way to the medical bay, steeling herself for what she might find. To her surprise, Lyria was awake, sitting up on the examination table with a look of wonder on her face as she studied the various human medical devices around her. The alien's wound had been dressed, and some color had returned to her lilac skin. "Commander," Dr. Patel, the outpost's chief medical officer, greeted her. "Our guest is quite remarkable. Her physiology is unlike anything I've ever seen, but she seems to be healing at an accelerated rate, and her ability to understand and speak our language, it's extraordinary." Sarah approached Lyria cautiously. "How are you feeling?" she asked. Lyria turned those mesmerizing silver eyes on her. "Better. Thanks to your people's care," she said, her voice stronger now. I owe you an explanation, Commander Chen." Sarah pulled up a chair and sat down. "I'm listening," she said simply. Lyria took a deep breath. "My people, the Astari, are what you might call data shepherds. For millennia, We have traveled the galaxy, collecting and preserving the knowledge and cultures of countless civilizations. It is our most sacred duty." She paused, a shadow passing over her face. "But recently, we encountered something different, a group that calls themselves the Void Consortium. They seek to erase knowledge, to create a galactic dark age where they alone control the flow of information. They attacked our archive ships, destroying priceless data stores." Sarah leaned forward, captivated despite herself. "But why come to us? Surely there are other, more advanced civilizations that could help you." Lyria's expression softened. "Your people are unique, Commander. In all our travels, we've never encountered a species quite like humanity. Your curiosity, your resilience, your capacity for both great destruction and incredible kindness. You are an anomaly in the galaxy. I still believe, that you might be the key to stopping the consortium." Before Sarah could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the outpost. She jumped to her feet, rushing to the nearest comm panel. "Report," she barked. "Multiple ships just appeared in orbit, Commander," a panicked voice responded. "They're not responding to hails, and they're moving into attack formation." Sarah's blood ran cold. She turned back to Lyria, whose silver eyes were wide with fear. "They found me," the alien whispered. "The Void Consortium is here." In that moment, Sarah knew that every decision she made next would shape the future of humanity's place in the galaxy. The exile was over. The real test was about to begin. Secrets and lies. The command center of Outpost Omega erupted into chaos as the Void Consortium ships entered Titan's orbit. Screens flickered with alien vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, their shapes defying human understanding of aerospace engineering. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the center of the storm, barking orders with a calm she didn't feel. "Shields to maximum. Activate all defensive systems. And get me a secure line to Earth Command, now." As her crew scrambled to obey, Sarah turned to Lyria, who had insisted on joining her despite the medical team's protests. The Astari's silver eyes were wide with a mixture of fear and guilt. "I'm so sorry," Lyria whispered. "I never meant to bring this war to your doorstep." Sarah's expression softened for a moment. "We'll deal with that later. Right now, I need to know everything you can tell me about their capabilities. What are we up against?" Lyria nodded, her ethereal features settling into a mask of determination. "The Void Consortium's ships are equipped with technology far beyond what you've encountered. Energy weapons that can pierce most known shields, and cloaking devices that make them nearly invisible to sensors." "Great," Sarah muttered. "Any weaknesses?" "Their reliance on advanced tech is also their vulnerability," Lyria explained. "Concentrated electromagnetic pulses can disrupt their systems, but you'd need to get close to deploy them effectively." Sarah's mind raced, formulating strategies and discarding them just as quickly. The comm officer's voice cut through her thoughts. "Commander, I have General Hawthorne on the secure line." Taking a deep breath, Sarah activated the view screen. General Hawthorne's stern face appeared, his bushy eyebrows furrowed in concern. "Chen, what the hell is going on up there? We're picking up multiple unknown contacts in Titan's orbit." "Sir, the situation has escalated," Sarah reported, her voice steady. "We have confirmed hostile alien presence. They're after our guest." She gestured to Lyria, who stepped into view. Hawthorne's eyes widened, a mixture of awe and suspicion crossing his features. "So it's true. First contact." He shook his head, refocusing. "What are our options, Commander?" Sarah laid out the situation quickly, explaining what they knew of the Void Consortium's capabilities and their apparent goal of galactic information control. "Sir, I believe this is bigger than just one refugee. If these aliens succeed in their mission, humanity's growth and exploration of the galaxy could be severely hampered." The general was silent for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. "You're right, Chen. This is bigger than us. But we're not equipped for a full-scale alien conflict. He paused, then continued with a hint of a smile. That's why I'm authorizing Operation Blackout. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Operation Blackout was a top-secret contingency plan developed for scenarios just like this, scenarios most had believed would never come to pass. It would give her near-total autonomy and access to experimental weapons and technology that officially didn't exist. "Sir, are you sure?" Sarah asked, hardly daring to believe it. Hawthorne nodded gravely. "The fate of humanity may well rest on what happens on Titan today, Commander. Don't make me regret this decision." The transmission cut off abruptly. For a moment, Sarah stood still, the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Then, with a deep breath, she turned to her crew. "All right, people. The gloves are coming off. Initiate Operation Blackout protocols." As her team rushed to comply, entering complex authorization codes and unlocking hidden systems, Sarah turned to Lyria. "I hope you're ready for this, because from here on out, we're rewriting the rules of engagement." Lyria nodded, a spark of hope igniting in her silver eyes. "Commander, there's something else you should know. Something I've been hesitant to reveal." She glanced around, then lowered her voice. "The reason the consortium is so determined to capture me, I carry within me the last complete copy of the Astari archives, millennia of knowledge from across the galaxy encoded in my very DNA." Sarah's eyes widened as the implications sank in. "You're not just a refugee, you're a living library." "Yes," Lyria confirmed, "and if the consortium gets their hands on me, they'll have the power to reshape galactic civilization as they see fit." The revelation sent Sarah's mind spinning. The stakes had just been raised exponentially. She was about to respond when a violent shudder ran through the outpost. Alarms blared as a voice called out, "Commander, they've breached our outer defenses." Sarah's training took over. "Initiate lockdown procedures. All non-essential personnel to the safe rooms." She turned to Lyria, her expression fierce. "I hope you're ready for a fight, because we're not letting them take you or your knowledge without one." As they raced through the corridors of Outpost Omega, Sarah's mind whirled with plans and contingencies. The experimental tech unlocked by Operation Blackout might give them an edge, but they were still vastly outgunned and outnumbered. They reached a heavily fortified door, and Sarah quickly entered a complex series of codes. The door slid open to reveal a room filled with sleek, otherworldly devices, the fruits of humanity's most secretive and advanced research programs. "What is all this?" Lyria asked, her silver eyes wide with wonder. Sarah allowed herself a small, grim smile. "This, my alien friend, is humanity's insurance policy. Experimental weapons, shields, and a few things even I'm not entirely sure about." She moved to a central console, her fingers flying over the controls. "And it's about to even the odds." Suddenly, the outpost shook violently. The lights flickered, and for a moment, Sarah feared they'd lost power completely. Then, to her relief, the emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. "They're inside," Sarah muttered. She turned to Lyria, her expression deadly serious. "I need you to be honest with me, right now. Is there anything else you haven't told me? Anything at all that could help us survive this?" Lyria hesitated, conflict clear on her alien features. Finally, she spoke. "There is one thing. The archives I carry, they're not just historical records. They contain advanced scientific knowledge, including weapons technology that could rival or even surpass the consortium's." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "And you're just mentioning this now?" "You have to understand," Lyria pleaded. "This knowledge, in the wrong hands, could devastate entire star systems. My people swore to protect it, to only use it as an absolute last resort." Before Sarah could respond, her comm crackled to life. "Commander." It was Dr. Patel, her voice tight with fear. "They've breached the medical bay. They're not like anything we've ever seen. Our weapons barely slow them down." Sarah made a split-second decision. Fall back to the secondary defense line. We'll regroup there. She cut the communication and turned back to Lyria. Looks like we've hit last resort territory. How quickly can you access that weapons data? Lyria closed her eyes, her face scrunching in concentration. When she opened them again, they glowed with an inner light. It's done. I can guide your engineers in modifying your existing weapons. But Sarah, she placed a hand on the commander's arm. Once this knowledge is out, there's no taking it back. Are you prepared for the consequences? For a moment, Sarah was transported back to that fateful day years ago, when another decision had cost lives and derailed her career. But this time, the stakes were infinitely higher. She met Lyria's gaze, her jaw set with determination. To protect my people, and the freedom of every sentient being in this galaxy. Yes, I'm prepared to do whatever it takes. As if in response to her words, the reinforced door to the secret armory began to glow red, the metal warping under some impossibly intense heat. The Void Consortium had found them. Sarah grabbed a sleek, experimental rifle from a nearby rack, its weight unfamiliar yet somehow right in her hands. She tossed another to Lyria, who caught it with surprising grace. I hope you know how to use that, Sarah said, a hint of a smile playing at her lips despite the dire situation. Lyria's eyes flashed with that strange inner light again. I do now, she replied, adjusting her grip on the weapon with newfound expertise. As the door began to give way, Sarah felt an odd sense of calm settle over her. This was it, the moment that would define not just her life, but potentially the future of humanity and countless other species across the galaxy. Whatever happens next, she said to Lyria, I want you to know that I don't regret helping you. Humanity was meant for more than hiding on our little blue marble. It's time we took our place among the stars. Lyria nodded, a look of fierce determination on her alien features. Together then, for the future of all sentient life. The door exploded inward in a shower of molten metal. Through the smoke and debris, Sarah caught glimpses of dark, writhing shapes, the foot soldiers of the Void Consortium. She raised her weapon, Lyria mirroring her stance beside her. In that moment, on a frozen moon orbiting a distant gas giant, humanity prepared to make its stand against the darkness that threatened to engulf the galaxy. And Commander Sarah Chen, once disgraced and exiled, now stood as the vanguard of her species' entry onto the cosmic stage. The battle for the future of galactic civilization had begun. Escape from Earth. The air crackled with energy as Sarah and Lyria opened fire on the advancing Void Consortium forces. The experimental weapons proved devastatingly effective, each shot tearing through the shadowy forms of the alien invaders. But for every enemy that fell, two more seemed to take its place. We can't hold them off forever, Sarah shouted over the din of battle. Her mind raced, searching for a solution. Then it hit her. Lyria, you said EMPs could disrupt their tech. Can we rig something up using the outpost's power core? Lyria's eyes glowed as she accessed the vast knowledge stored within her. Yes, but it would overload our systems. We'd be defenseless, and we have no way off this rock, Sarah finished grimly. She made a split-second decision. Do it. I've got a plan. As Lyria worked feverishly to modify the outpost systems, Sarah opened a channel to the remaining crew. All personnel, prepare for emergency evacuation. Head to Hangar Bay 3. Now. Confusion and fear colored the responses, but years of training kicked in. As the crew scrambled to obey, Sarah turned back to Lyria. How long? 2 minutes, the alien replied, her fingers dancing over the controls with inhuman speed. Sarah nodded, then sprinted towards the hangar, Lyria close behind. They arrived to find a scene of controlled chaos as crew members piled into the few escape shuttles rated for Titan's harsh atmosphere. Commander, Dr. Patel called out. What's happening? No time to explain, Sarah replied, rushing to a battered old craft in the corner of the hangar. It was an obsolete orbital shuttle, long since decommissioned. Everyone, get those shuttles in the air. Head for the Saturn orbital station. Don't argue, just go. As the other shuttles began to launch, Sarah pried open a panel on the old craft, her hands moving with practiced ease as she bypassed safety protocols and jump-started ancient systems. Lyria watched in amazement. This craft, it can't possibly fly. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. Watch and learn. Sometimes the old ways are the best. She hit the comm. Lyria, status on that EMP. 30 seconds. The hangar doors began to glow red, the metal warping under the consortium's assault. Sarah grabbed Lyria and shoved her into the shuttle's cramped cockpit. Strap in. This is going to get rough. As Sarah brought the shuttle's engines online, a deafening explosion rocked the outpost. The lights flickered and died as the EMP pulse radiated outward. Through the hangar's viewports, Sarah saw the sleek consortium ships tumbling out of formation, their systems fried. Now or never, Sarah muttered. She jammed the throttle forward, and the ancient shuttle lurched to life. They shot out of the hangar just as the doors gave way, leaving the advancing consortium forces in their wake. The shuttle bucked and shuddered as it climbed through Titan's thick atmosphere. Warning lights flashed across the console, but Sarah's hands never wavered. She'd flown worse in her days as a hotshot pilot before the incident that ended her career. "We're being pursued," Lyria reported, her voice tight with tension. Sarah risked a glance at the rear sensors. Several consortium ships had recovered from the EMP, their dark forms streaking after the fleeing shuttle. Time to see what this old bird can really do. She pushed the engines beyond their safety limits, ignoring the protests of overtaxed systems. The shuttle shot towards Saturn's rings, a daring maneuver that would be suicide in a larger ship. "Sarah, what are you doing?" Lyria's eyes were wide with fear and awe. "Trading finesse for raw human audacity," Sarah replied through gritted teeth. "Hold on." They plunged into the rings, ice particles and rock fragments pinning off the shuttle's hull. Sarah wove through the debris with preternatural skill, her eyes darting between view screens and the chaotic vista before them. Behind them, two of the pursuing consortium ships weren't so lucky. Their more advanced hulls, designed for deep space rather than atmospheric flight, crumpled under the assault of Saturn's rings. The remaining pursuers fell back, unwilling to risk the same fate. As they emerged from the rings, Sarah allowed herself a moment of triumph, but it was short-lived. "Damn it," she muttered, eyeing the fuel gauge. "We're running on fumes. We'll never make it to the orbital station." Lyria's face set with determination. "I think I can help with that." Her eyes glowed as she accessed the archives once more. "There's a theory. It's never been tested, but..." She reached out, placing her hand on the shuttle's console. To Sarah's amazement, lines of alien script began to flow across the screens. The shuttle shuddered, then surged forward with renewed energy. "What did you do?" Sarah asked, struggling to keep the craft under control. "I've initiated a process that's drawing energy directly from subspace," Lyria explained. "It won't last long, but it should get us to safety." The orbital station grew larger in their view screen, a beacon of hope in the vastness of space. But as they approached, Sarah's heart sank. A consortium ship, larger than any they'd seen before, was moving to intercept. "No," Lyria whispered, "it's the Null Arbiter, the flagship of the entire consortium fleet." Sarah's mind raced. They were out of options, out of tricks. Then her eyes fell on the shuttle's ancient weapons system, a relic from a time when even civilian craft were armed against pirate raids. "Lyria," she said, her voice steady, "I need you to do one more impossible thing for me." Understanding dawned in the alien's silver eyes. Once more, she placed her hand on the console, channeling the knowledge of 1,000 civilizations into the shuttle's primitive systems. The Null Arbiter loomed before them, its weapon ports glowing with deadly energy. Sarah's hand hovered over the firing control. "For Earth," she whispered. "For all of us." She pressed the button. A lance of pure energy, more powerful than anything a ship this size should have been capable of producing, shot forth. It struck the null arbiter dead center, piercing its supposedly impenetrable shields. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a silent flash that lit up the space around Saturn, the consortium flagship exploded. Alarms blared throughout the shuttle as systems overloaded and failed. They were falling, tumbling out of control towards the orbital station. Sarah fought with the controls, trying to stabilize their descent. "Brace for impact," she shouted. The last thing Sarah saw before darkness took her was the station's emergency tractor beams engaging, reaching out to pluck them from the void. When Sarah regained consciousness, she found herself in the orbital station's medical bay. Dr. Patel's concerned face swam into view. "Easy, Commander. You've been through quite an ordeal." Sarah tried to sit up, wincing at the pain. "Lyria, the crew." "Your alien friend is fine," Dr. Patel assured her. "As for the crew, we lost some good people, but thanks to you, most made it out." Before Sarah could respond, the door slid open. General Hawthorne strode in, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. "Commander Chen," he said, his voice gruff. "You disobeyed direct orders, endangered your entire crew, and very nearly started an interstellar war." He paused, then a smile cracked his stern facade. "And in doing so, you may have just saved humanity's future among the stars." Sarah blinked, unsure if she was hallucinating. "Sir, the destruction of the consortium flagship has thrown their entire operation into chaos," Hawthorne explained. "We're already receiving transmissions from other alien races, offering alliances and technology exchanges. Earth is about to take its place on the galactic stage, and it's all thanks to you and your unconventional methods." As the implications sank in, Sarah felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Her exile was over, her redemption complete. But more than that, she had opened the door to a future filled with endless possibilities. Lyria entered the room, her silver eyes shining with gratitude and something more. "Sarah," she said softly, "my people are sending a ship. They want to formalize an alliance with Earth, and they've asked me to stay on as an ambassador." Sarah felt a smile tugging at her lips. "Well," she said, looking from Lyria to Hawthorne, "I guess we've got work to do." As she lay there, surrounded by the promise of a new era for humanity, Sarah Chen realized that sometimes the greatest adventures begin with a single act of compassion. The stars were calling, and this time, Earth was ready to answer. Alien alliances. The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity. As Sarah recovered from her injuries, Earth's governments scrambled to respond to the sudden influx of alien contact. The destruction of the Void Consortium's flagship had sent shockwaves through the galactic community, and humanity found itself thrust into the spotlight. Sarah stood at the viewport of the newly christened Starfall station, watching as ships from a dozen different alien races maneuvered in the space around Saturn. The orbital platform that had once been a refueling depot for Saturn's moons had been hastily expanded and repurposed as humanity's first official extraterrestrial embassy. "It's quite a sight, isn't it?" Lyria's melodic voice came from behind her. The Astari had taken to wearing a shimmering robe that seemed to capture and reflect the starlight, making her appear even more ethereal. Sarah nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "I never thought I'd see anything like this in my lifetime. It's overwhelming." Lyria placed a comforting hand on Sarah's shoulder. "You've handled it admirably. Many species retreat into isolationism when faced with such a sudden introduction to the galactic stage. Humanity's openness and adaptability have impressed many potential allies." Before Sarah could respond, her comm unit chimed. Commander Chen to the main conference room came General Hawthorne's gruff voice. "Our guests have arrived." Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "Showtime," she muttered. As they made their way through the station's corridors, Sarah marveled at how quickly humans and aliens had begun to integrate. Engineers from Earth worked alongside spindly, multi-limbed Zarthak technicians, adapting the station's systems to accommodate the needs of various species. In the hydroponics bay, she glimpsed Dr. Patel deep in conversation with a gelatinous Martian botanist, no doubt discussing the medicinal properties of alien flora. The conference room doors stood open to reveal a scene that would have been unthinkable just a month ago. Around a large, circular table sat representatives from 7 of the most influential spacefaring races in the local galactic cluster. General Hawthorne stood at attention, looking both proud and slightly overwhelmed. Commander Chen, Ambassador Lyria, he greeted them. "Allow me to introduce our esteemed guests." What followed was a dizzying array of names and titles. There was Zorak, the crystalline Tellurian ambassador, whose faceted body shimmered with internal light. Next to him sat Kethax, a towering insectoid hive queen of the Vespid collective. The Martian representative was a shimmering pool of silvery liquid that somehow managed to convey a sense of regal bearing. As the introductions continued, Sarah felt a growing sense of awe and responsibility. These beings represented civilizations that had been crossing the stars when humans were still learning to make fire. And now, they were looking to Earth as a potential ally in the fight against the Void Consortium. Once everyone was seated, Zorak's crystalline form chimed softly as he spoke. "We have convened this council to discuss the formation of a united front against the Void Consortium. The actions of Commander Chen and the people of Earth have given us a unique opportunity to strike while our enemy is in disarray." Kethax's mandibles clicked in agreement. The Hive Queens have long feared the day the consortium would turn their gaze upon us. But now, thanks to the bravery of humans and the wisdom of the Astari, we have hope. The Martian representative rippled, its liquid form forming intricate patterns as it communicated. "We propose a sharing of technology and resources, but its innovative approach to combat, combined with the advanced sciences of other races, could create a force the consortium cannot hope to match." Sarah listened intently, her tactical mind already racing with possibilities. But a nagging doubt gnawed at her. She cleared her throat, drawing the attention of the assembled aliens. "With all due respect," she began, choosing her words carefully, "Earth is still new to this galactic community. We're honored by your trust, but we're also aware of our limitations. How can you be sure we're ready for this level of cooperation?" A murmur went through the gathered representatives. Then, to Sarah's surprise, Lyria stepped forward. "If I may," she said, her silver eyes gleaming, "I believe I can answer that." With a gesture, Lyria activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed a visual representation of the Astari archives stored within her DNA. The knowledge contained here spans millennia and encompasses the histories of countless civilizations. And do you know what I've found, time and time again? The aliens leaned in, captivated. Lyria continued, "Species that achieve greatness, that leave a lasting mark on the galaxy, all share certain traits: curiosity, adaptability, and most importantly, a drive to better themselves and their surroundings, even in the face of overwhelming odds." She turned to Sarah, a warm smile on her face. "In the short time I've known them, I've seen all of these traits in abundance among humans. Yes, they are young. Yes, they have much to learn, but their potential is limitless." The room fell silent as the alien representatives absorbed Lyria's words. Finally, Zorak spoke, his crystalline body resonating with approval. "Well said, Ambassador Lyria. I believe we are all in agreement. The Galactic Concordat shall be formed, with Earth as a founding member." As the representatives began to discuss the specifics of the alliance, Sarah felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to find General Hawthorne, a rare smile on his weathered face. "You've done good, Chen," he said quietly. "I know this isn't what you signed up for when you took that post on Titan, but I can't think of anyone better suited to represent humanity in this new era." Sarah felt a lump form in her throat. "Thank you, sir. I'll do my best not to let Earth down." As the meeting continued, plans were made for technology exchanges, joint military exercises, and the establishment of Earth's first extrasolar colonies. Sarah's head spun with the implications. Humanity was about to take its first real steps into the cosmic ocean, and she was at the forefront. Hours later, as the conference wrapped up, Sarah found herself once again at the viewport, gazing out at the alien ships. Lyria joined her, a contented silence falling between them. "You know," Sarah said after a while, "when I was a little girl, I used to dream about this. Aliens, space battles, saving the galaxy. I never actually thought it would happen." Lyria's silver eyes twinkled with amusement. "The universe has a way of surprising us. Though I must admit, in all my travels, I never expected to find allies quite like you humans." Sarah chuckled. "We are a pretty weird bunch, aren't we?" "Wonderfully so," Lyria agreed. Her expression grew serious. "The road ahead won't be easy, Sarah. The Void Consortium is wounded, but not defeated. They'll be back, and they'll be angry." Sarah nodded, her jaw set with determination. Let them come. Earth isn't alone anymore. And if there's one thing humans are good at, it's beating the odds. As they stood there watching the stars, Sarah felt a sense of purpose she hadn't experienced since her early days in the military. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but it was also fraught with dangers. Humanity had taken its first steps onto a much larger stage, and she was determined to ensure they put their best foot forward. The Galactic Concordat was just the beginning. With allies at their side and the spirit of exploration in their hearts, humans were ready to claim their place among the stars. And Commander Sarah Chen, once exiled and disgraced, now stood as a beacon of hope for her entire species. The adventure, it seemed, was only just beginning. The coming storm. 6 months had passed since the formation of the Galactic Concordat, and the landscape of the solar system had changed dramatically. Starfall Station had grown into a sprawling complex, a shining beacon of interstellar cooperation orbiting Saturn. Ships from a dozen alien races came and went, bringing with them new technologies, cultural exchanges, and a sense of wonder that had reignited humanity's passion for space exploration. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed war room, surrounded by holograms displaying real-time data from across the galaxy. She'd been promoted to Admiral, tasked with overseeing the Concordat's Joint Defense Force. It was a role she'd never imagined for herself, but one she'd grown into with determination and grit. "Status report," she called out, her voice carrying the weight of command. A young lieutenant, barely out of the academy, stepped forward. "Admiral, our long-range sensors have detected unusual activity in the Omega Centauri cluster. It matches the energy signatures we've come to associate with Void Consortium ships." Sarah's eyes narrowed. They'd been waiting for this, preparing for the inevitable counterattack. "Show me," she ordered. The central hologram shifted, zooming in on a distant star cluster. Red dots appeared, representing consortium vessels. There were dozens of them, more than they'd ever seen gathered in one place. "They're assembling a fleet," came Lyria's voice from behind her. The Astari ambassador approached, her silver eyes reflecting the holographic display. "This is it, Sarah. The storm we've been preparing for." Sarah nodded grimly. "Alert the Concordat Council. We need to convene an emergency session." As the war room erupted into activity, Sarah felt a familiar mix of anticipation and dread. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind of preparation, innovation, and cultural exchange. Humanity had made incredible strides, adapting alien technologies and combining them with their own unique approaches. The Zarthak had shared their advanced propulsion systems, allowing for faster-than-light travel. The crystalline Tellurians had helped develop new energy weapons that utilized principles of quantum entanglement. Even the gelatinous Martian had contributed, their shape-shifting abilities inspiring a new generation of adaptive armor. But would it be enough? Hours later, Sarah stood before the assembled Concordat Council. Representatives from each member race attended virtually, their holograms flickering around the circular chamber. "The intelligence is clear," Sarah began, her voice steady. "The Void Consortium is mobilizing on a scale we haven't seen before. We believe they're preparing for a major offensive, likely targeting multiple concordat worlds simultaneously. Murmurs of concern rippled through the assembly. Jorak, the Tellurian representative, chimed in. Our deep space listening posts have detected encrypted transmissions, suggesting they've developed countermeasures to some of our shared technologies. Kerfax, the Vespid Hive Queen, clicked her mandibles anxiously. The collective worlds are not prepared for a full-scale invasion. We need more time. Sarah raised a hand, calling for calm. We've anticipated this possibility. That's why we've been working on Project Starfall. The room fell silent. Project Starfall was the Concordat's most closely guarded secret, a weapon of last resort that combined technologies and principles from all member races. With your approval, Sarah continued, we're prepared to move Project Starfall into its final phase. But I need to be clear about what that means. She took a deep breath. Once activated, there's no going back. It will fundamentally alter the nature of space-time within its area of effect. We can target the consortium fleet, but there may be unforeseen consequences. The council chamber erupted into heated debate. Some representatives argued passionately for caution, while others insisted that the threat posed by the consortium justified any risk. As the arguments raged, Sarah felt a gentle touch on her arm. She turned to find Lyria looking at her with a mix of concern and pride. You've come so far, the Astari said softly. When we first met, you were an exiled officer on a forgotten moon. Now you stand ready to shape the fate of the galaxy. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. I couldn't have done it without you, Lyria. Your guidance, your knowledge, it's been invaluable. Lyria's silver eyes shimmered with emotion. Perhaps, but it was your human spirit, your determination in the face of overwhelming odds, that truly made the difference. You've inspired not just your own people, but beings across the stars. Their moment was interrupted as General Hawthorne's gruff voice cut through the din. Enough debate. We need a decision. The consortium won't wait while we argue semantics. Sarah straightened, once again the picture of military bearing. The general is right. We're out of time. I need authorization to proceed with Project Starfall. All in favor. One by one, the holographic representatives signaled their assent, some enthusiastically, others with clear reservations, but in the end, the vote was unanimous. Very well, Sarah said, her voice carrying the weight of galaxies. Project Starfall is go. May whatever gods are out there have mercy on us all. As the council dispersed, Sarah turned to her team. Begin the final preparations. I want every ship, every weapon, every asset we have ready to move in 48 hours. The next 2 days were a blur of activity. Ships from all Concordat races converged on predetermined rally points. Weapons were charged, shields reinforced, and last-minute adjustments made to the experimental technologies that might make the difference between victory and annihilation. Through it all, Sarah worked tirelessly, coordinating efforts across vast distances, smoothing over cultural misunderstandings between allied races, and steeling herself for the battle to come. On the eve of their departure, Sarah found herself once again at the viewport of Starfall Station, gazing out at the assembled fleet. Ships of all shapes and sizes, representing the combined might of a dozen spacefaring civilizations, floated in perfect formation. Quite a sight, isn't it? General Hawthorne's voice came from behind her. Never thought I'd live to see something like this. Sarah nodded, not turning away from the view. It's more than just a fleet, sir. It's a symbol of what we can achieve when we work together. Humans, sailing among the stars, fighting alongside beings we once thought were mere fantasy. Hawthorne grunted in agreement. You've done good, Chen. Whatever happens out there, know that Earth is proud of you. I'm proud of you. Sarah felt a lump form in her throat. Coming from the taciturn general, this was high praise indeed. Thank you, sir. I'll do my best to live up to that pride. As Hawthorne left, Lyria approached, her ethereal form seeming to glow in the starlight. Are you ready? She asked softly. Sarah took a deep breath. As ready as I'll ever be. Lyria, I need you to promise me something." The Astari tilted her head quizzically. "Of course, anything. If something happens to me out there, I need you to make sure Earth is protected. The knowledge you carry, the alliances we've forged, humanity will need all of it to survive what's coming." Lyria's silver eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "Nothing will happen to you, Sarah. We faced impossible odds before and emerged victorious. This time will be no different." Sarah managed a small smile. "I hope you're right, but promise me, just in case." "I promise," Lyria said solemnly. "But you must also promise to return. Earth needs you. The Concordat needs you." She paused, then added softly, "I need you." For a moment, they stood in silence, the weight of unspoken emotions hanging between them. Then Sarah's comm unit chimed, breaking the spell. "Admiral Chen to the bridge," came the urgent call. "Long-range sensors have detected consortium ships entering the system." Sarah straightened, her face setting into a mask of determination. "Acknowledged. Sound general quarters. All hands to battle stations." She turned to Lyria one last time. "This is it. No matter what happens out there, know that meeting you, learning about the wonders of the galaxy, it's been the greatest adventure of my life." With that, Sarah strode towards the bridge, every inch the commanding officer. As klaxons blared and crews rushed to their posts, she allowed herself one final glance out the viewport. The vast fleet of the galactic Concordat began to move, their engines flaring to life in a dazzling display of unity and power. At their head, the sleek form of the flagship Humanity's Hope led the charge. Admiral Sarah Chen, once an exiled officer on a forgotten moon, now stood at the forefront of the greatest battle in galactic history. The fate of not just Earth, but countless worlds across the stars rested on her shoulders. The coming storm had arrived, and humanity was ready to face it head-on. Humanity's stand. The vastness of space erupted into chaos as the galactic Concordat fleet engaged the Void Consortium armada. Beams of energy crisscrossed the void, missiles left trails of exotic particles, and ships danced in a deadly ballet of destruction and survival. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of Humanity's Hope, her eyes darting between tactical displays and the breathtaking vista of battle visible through the ship's viewports. The Concordat's fleet was holding its own, but the sheer number of consortium vessels was overwhelming. "Status report," Sarah barked, her voice cutting through the controlled chaos of the bridge. Her XO, a grizzled veteran named Rodriguez, responded without taking his eyes off his console. "Shields at 62% and holding, Admiral. We've taken out 3 of their cruisers, but they keep coming. The Tellurian battle group is taking heavy fire on our port flank." Sarah's mind raced, analyzing the ebb and flow of battle. Divert power from non-essential systems to the shields, and tell the Vespid swarm ships to reinforce the Tellurians. We can't let them break our line. As her orders were relayed, Sarah felt the deck shudder beneath her feet. A massive consortium dreadnought had just dropped out of FTL, its ominous form dwarfing even the largest Concordat vessels. By the cosmic serpent, Lyria breathed, her silver eyes wide with fear. It's the Void Eternal, the consortium's new flagship. Sarah's jaw clenched. This was the moment they'd been dreading. "All ships, focus fire on that dreadnought. We can't let it bring its main weapon to bear." The space around the Void Eternal lit up with the combined firepower of the Concordat fleet, but the massive ship's shields held, flickering but unbroken under the assault. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Admiral," Rodriguez shouted, "they're powering up their primary weapon. Energy readings are off the charts." Sarah's heart raced. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of the galaxy. "Initiate Project Starfall," she commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the order. "All ships, fall back to minimum safe distance." As the Concordat fleet began to retreat, Sarah watched the massive form of Project Starfall move into position. It was a construct unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen before, a fusion of technologies from a dozen races, powered by principles that defied conventional physics. The Void Eternal's weapon began to glow with an unholy light, preparing to unleash devastation on an unimaginable scale. But before it could fire, Project Starfall activated. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, reality itself seemed to buckle. A sphere of distorted space-time expanded from the device, engulfing the consortium fleet. Ships twisted and warped, their forms stretching and compressing in ways that defied comprehension. Sarah watched in awe and terror as the laws of physics were rewritten within the sphere of influence. The Void Eternal, caught at the epicenter, began to implode, collapsing in on itself as if being devoured by a black hole. But the effects didn't stop there. The distortion continued to grow, faster than their models had predicted. Alarms blared across the bridge of humanity's hope. "Admiral," Rodriguez shouted, "the reaction is cascading. We can't shut it down." Sarah's mind raced. They had known Project Starfall was dangerous, but this could tear apart the very fabric of space-time. Her eyes met Lyria's, and in that moment, a silent understanding passed between them. "All ships, maximum thrust," Sarah commanded. "We need to outrun the expansion of the distortion field." As the Concordat fleet frantically maneuvered away from the growing anomaly, Sarah turned to Lyria. "The archives," she said urgently. "Is there anything in there that can help us?" Lyria's eyes glowed as she accessed the vast repository of knowledge within her. There might be a way," she said hesitantly, "but it would require channeling an enormous amount of energy, more than this ship can generate." Sarah's expression hardened with determination. "What if you had the combined output of the entire fleet?" Lyria's eyes widened. It might work, but Sarah, the risk. "It's less than the risk of doing nothing," Sarah finished. She turned to her communications officer. "Patch me through to the entire fleet." Taking a deep breath, Sarah addressed the assembled forces of the Galactic Concordat. "This is Admiral Chen. We've dealt a crippling blow to the consortium, but now we face an even greater threat. I'm asking every ship to divert all available power to humanity's hope. It's our only chance to contain this anomaly and save countless lives across the galaxy." One by one, acknowledgements came in from the fleet. Sarah watched as energy readings spiked, the combined power of 1,000 ships flowing into humanity's hope. "Lyria," Sarah said softly, "it's up to you now." The Astari nodded, her form beginning to glow with an inner light. She placed her hands on the ship's main console, and suddenly the bridge was filled with streams of data, the accumulated knowledge of the Astari archives made manifest. Sarah watched in awe as Lyria became a conduit, channeling the energy of the fleet and the wisdom of ages into a single focused purpose. The ship shuddered, systems overloading as they were pushed far beyond their design limits. Outside, the fabric of space began to ripple and fold. The expanding distortion slowed, then stopped, held in check by forces beyond human comprehension. Slowly, impossibly, it began to contract. On the bridge of humanity's hope, consoles exploded in showers of sparks. The deck plates buckled as stresses beyond their tolerances tore at the ship. Sarah barked orders, fighting to keep the vessel intact for just a few moments longer. With a final titanic effort, Lyria collapsed the anomaly in on itself. There was a flash of light brighter than 1,000 suns, and then silence. As the spots faded from her vision, Sarah took in the scene before her. Where the Void Eternal had been, there was now nothing but empty space. The consortium fleet was gone, erased from existence, and floating serenely among the stars was Project Starfall, now inert and harmless. A cheer went up across the fleet as the realization of victory set in, but on the bridge of humanity's hope, Sarah had eyes only for Lyria. The Astari swayed on her feet, her glow fading. "Lyria." Sarah rushed to catch her friend as she collapsed. "Are you all right? What happened?" Lyria's silver eyes fluttered open, a weak smile on her face. It's stunned, she whispered. The anomaly is contained, but the archives, I had to use them, Sarah. All of them. Sarah's heart sank as she understood the sacrifice Lyria had made. The vast repository of knowledge, the accumulated wisdom of countless civilizations, had been expended to save them all. You did it, Lyria, Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. You saved us. You saved everyone. As medical teams rushed to attend to the wounded and damaged reports flooded in, Sarah found herself standing once again at the viewport. The stars seemed brighter somehow, full of promise and possibility. General Hawthorne's gruff voice came over the comm. Helluva thing you did out there, Admiral. Earth's proud of you. The whole damn galaxy's proud of you. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Thank you, sir. But it wasn't just me. It was all of us working together. Humans, Astari, and every race in the Concordat. As she watched the fleet begin to regroup, Sarah's mind turned to the future. The Void Consortium was defeated, but there would be other challenges, other threats to face, but now they would face them united. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not through conquest or subjugation, but through cooperation, ingenuity, and an indomitable spirit. The road ahead would not be easy, but Sarah Chen knew that together, there was no obstacle they couldn't overcome. As humanity's hope led the victorious fleet home, Sarah felt a sense of peace settle over her. The exile was long over. The redemption complete, and the greatest adventure of all, it was just beginning. The stars beckoned, full of wonders and challenges yet to be discovered, and humanity, standing tall among its avian allies, was ready to answer the call.